with international law. In fact, the Zionist Israeli government does not have a right to exist. Why? Because the partition plan that was brought before the General Assembly, the partition plan which was supposed to divide the land between the Israeli Zionist Jewish population and the Palestinian population, was supposed to go to the Security Council for approval. It never went to the Security Council for approval. It was a recommendation. So under international law, the Zionist colonization of Palestine is not legal, and therefore the Zionist structures, the government and otherwise, do not have a right to exist. And that's not to conflate the people with the state. Those people who identify as Israeli, just as any human beings, have every right to exist. However, those who seek to maintain an Arab minority in a land that is natively Arab, not just Palestine. When we talk about Israel, we have to think about where Palestine is. Palestine sits at the heart of the Arab world. The maintenance of an Israeli state that is not Arab ends the liberties, controls the liberties, affects the daily lives of all Arabs in the Arab world. Furthermore, when we talk about, Israel's right to exist, people say oftentimes they refer to the 67 borders as though somehow it is written that when you discuss two states, the 67 borders are what we are to discuss. Nowhere is it written. It's an arbitrary date picked on the date of another occupation. It could have been 48 or 49 or 47 or 2001. So there's nowhere that it says that we have to stick to the green line or the 67 borders. Firstly. Secondly, addressing the issue of the 67 borders, if we are to say that Israel as a Jewish Zionist state or as a purely Jewish state, a state for the minority in the land of the majority native Palestinians, in order to affect that state, you'd have to continue the structures and mechanisms of oppression that gave birth to Israel. Population control, exile, a complete negation of the rights, the fundamental rights, of 2/3 of the Palestinian population, the refugees, who surround Israel. And I support Jody's position and would take it a step further that the two-state solution, proposals for the two-state solution, are actually dying. And where we see the advocacy for two-state solution is amongst the Zionist liberals who want to save, at least ideologically, this idea of a Zionist Jewish state. So it's not realistic. Even in the settlements, the settlers in Palestine talk about a one-state solution. There's only one state now if you look at the map. There is no contiguous Palestinian state. There is only one state. Now, the issue for us, and I would like to pose, I'm sorry for going on too long, is as organizers and as this movement is exponentially growing by the day, and it's very exciting that we keep this in mind and not debate the issue of whether it's one or two states. The idea of two states is absolutely impossible, but rather what model of one state in Palestine do we want to see?
Sorry, could I also, I just wanted to